Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar brought to you by TERRAZZCO Brand Products. Today we are presenting a general overview on terrazzo. Before we begin, I want to briefly talk to you about Concord Terrazzo Company and what we do. Concord Terrazzo Company is a distributor of TERRAZZCO Brand Products. Today we are a leading terrazzo materials supplier. Some of our services include designing samples for clients, manufacturing epoxy resins, crushing and processing terrazzo aggregates, and fabricating precast terrazzo products. If you're joining us for the first time today, this presentation will be educational in helping you understand this building material. Without further ado, let's begin. Here are the topics we will cover in today's webinar. First, we will go over what terrazzo is. We'll also briefly go over the history of terrazzo. Next, we'll take a look at the different terrazzo systems, including the main differences between a cement and epoxy terrazzo system. This will then be followed by discussing how terrazzo floors are installed and highlight things to look out for. Soon after, we'll examine the various design and color options terrazzo brings to projects. Finally, we'll conclude with the different recommended applications of terrazzo and locations where you can find terrazzo today. If you happen to have questions about terrazzo at any time during this presentation, please do write to us at info@terrazzco.com. Our team of experts can answer any questions you have regarding terrazzo. Our first point of discussion is, what is terrazzo? Terrazzo is trending as a building material for use in construction projects around the world. But what exactly is terrazzo? We start off by defining terrazzo and looking at its main advantages as a flooring system. We define terrazzo as a composite material, either poured in place or prefabricated for precast terrazzo, which is then used for either flooring, base, stair treads, walls, and countertops. Terrazzo is made of chips of marble, granite, quartz, glass, shells, and metals, which is combined in either a cement or epoxy matrix as the binder. When installing terrazzo, metal divider strips are also used. Divider strips are used to divide sections, make color transitions, design decorative pieces or logos, and allow for movement or crack mitigation. Aluminum is the most common use of divider strips. However, zinc, brass, or plastic are considered as well. Next, we'll dive into the history of terrazzo, highlighting its origins and how it evolved over the years. Terrazzo can be found at historical landmarks around the world. Some locations include the Hollywood Walk of Fame and George Washington's Mount Vernon home in Virginia. Credit is given to the Italians for inventing terrazzo. In the 15th century, Venetians used scrap marble fragments from high-end projects and placed them in clay mortar base for their own terraces. Archaeologists have even found evidence of terrazzo in ancient ruins in Turkey, dated back well over 10,000 years ago. Terrazzo is similar to the technique seminato, where workers would toss large marble chips into wet cement to be ground and polished. Terrazzo began making its way to America around the 20th century. The 1920s saw the rise of terrazzo in America. Craftsmen would recycle aggregate to create Italian-style terrazzo floors for lobbies of hotels and apartments. It was during this time electric grinders were invented, which has also contributed to the growth of terrazzo. These machines created a finer finish with greater speed and accuracy. Over time, terrazzo began to evolve. In the 1970s, epoxy resins were introduced, offering an alternative to traditional cementitious terrazzo. It was a game changer for the industry. Epoxy terrazzo is quicker to cure than cementitious terrazzo systems. Even though it is thinner, it is generally stronger and more durable, with less prone to cracking than cementitious systems as well. Today, they can last up to 75 years on average. With epoxy terrazzo, there is also greater design opportunities in terms of color selections and aggregates used. There's an endless amount of epoxy colors, and these colors remain permanent throughout the material's life cycle. In addition to traditional choices in aggregates such as marble and granite, epoxy terrazzo made way for use of post-consumer recycled glass, mirror, plastics, porcelain, and concrete. Terrazzo is relevant once again today for its sustainable features, with low amounts of volatile organic compounds, and is a good source of recycled content. As a result, terrazzo has become an excellent choice for architects looking to obtain lead points for their building projects. In our next topic, we'll go over the different types of terrazzo systems. Terrazzo systems include options of the cementitious and thin-set epoxy resin variety. Some common cement systems include monolithic, sand cushion, and rustic terrazzo. Monolithic terrazzo is a system where a half-inch terrazzo topping is bonded directly to a new or existing slab. Panels are then poured within the directly bonded metal L-angle divider strips. Sand cushion terrazzo is a system where terrazzo is poured over a wire-reinforced 2.5-inch to 3-inch mud bed of sand and cement mixture. While the mud bed is still soft, standard metal divider strips are partially embedded in the mud bed wherever there is to be a joint or a color change. Underneath the mud bed is an isolation sheet on top of a 1/16 inch sand dusting, creating a floating flow which allows for horizontal movement in the building, thus practically eliminating the possibility for cracking. Rustic terrazzo is typically an exterior application with a slip-resistant textured finish. Now onto thin-set systems. There are two options, epoxy and polyacrylate. Polyacrylate is a cement-modified acrylate, creating higher compressive strength and higher impact resistance to cement. It also allows for vapor transmissions. This system is similar to a monolithic terrazzo system, but installed at a minimum of 3/8 inch thickness. Thin-set epoxy is a two-component resin which bonds directly to the concrete slab. A moisture mitigation system or crack suppression membrane may be required. A vapor barrier is required below the slab for all slab-on-grade applications. This system is installed at 1/4 inch to 3/8 inch finish. Now that we briefly went over some common terrazzo systems, we will now identify the main differences between epoxy and cementitious terrazzo. For one, color is the main advantage of epoxy terrazzo. When you think of epoxy terrazzo, think of vibrant colors. On the other hand, cement terrazzo is best suited for pastel and darker colors. It is also easier to patch an epoxy terrazzo floor as colors can be easily matched. Unlike a cement system, epoxy terrazzo can include exotic aggregates such as mother of pearl, mirror glass, and plastics. Other differences that give epoxy terrazzo an advantage is its lighter weight, high strengths with PCI rates of 10,000 or more, faster installations, impermeable finish, and crack resistance. Another advantage of terrazzo is its lack of grout lines and joints. Smoother floors mean less noise, but also a cleaner, bacteria-free floor. However, there are a few challenges for epoxy terrazzo. Epoxy terrazzo does not react well with heat and ultraviolet rays, therefore it is primarily an indoor application. For exterior applications, it is recommended to use a rustic system. Another disadvantage would be that its topping is not vapor permeable, meaning moisture mitigation systems may be required. So we've already examined the components of terrazzo and a couple of floor systems. Next, I'll educate you today on the basics of a terrazzo installation. We'll take a moment to take a pause here to discuss the installation of cementitious and epoxy terrazzo, as they are both different. Each binder requires a different installation method. Installing terrazzo is an art in itself. The craft requires various skills that have been passed down from generations. When thinking about installing terrazzo, it is best recommended that you hire a professional contractor rather than installing the material yourself. So when installers first enter a construction site, it is important for them to perform moisture vapor transmission tests to all slabs receiving epoxy terrazzo. Once this is completed, surface preparation is the next step. During this process, installers will create a strong bond between the substrate and the terrazzo. Installers can either shot blast or grind the floor to open up the concrete for proper adhesion. This is also the step where installers can remove excess matter like glue from a previous floor installation. Installers will also check to make sure that the floors are leveled as well as they look for crack details. Flexible epoxy can fill in cracks, which help assist in prevention of substrate cracks transmitting to the terrazzo floor during the entire floor's life cycle. Once the concrete is prepared to standard, installers can start creating the floor layout according to the project's design. Divider strips are placed along the floor, including saw cuts and expansion areas. As mentioned before, they also allow for color transitions and the ability to create complex design patterns. Once the layout is finished, installers can begin mixing components for the terrazzo floor. With cement terrazzo, there is a mixture of a 2:1 ratio of marble aggregates and either a gray or white cement. Iron oxide can be added to the mix for coloring. All materials are mixed well with water. The mix is then poured over the surface, and using a tool commonly known as the hand trowel, the mix is spread evenly at the preferred height. Aggregate is seated across the floor and rolled across in alternating directions. This allows the aggregate to become embedded into the terrazzo while moving excess cement water to the top to be removed from the floor. This process is repeated several times with different weighted rollers and allowed to cure for several days before grinding the terrazzo floor. Epoxy terrazzo is less labor intensive and doesn't require as many skills as a cement installation. The mix ratio of epoxy terrazzo is 5:1, meaning 5 gallons of a Part A resin-based color and 1 gallon of a Part B hardener. Both the Part A and Part B are mixed together with filler powder and a minimum of 180 pounds of aggregates added to the mix. This batch is then poured over the surface in areas that specify a color. Installers continue to spread the batch evenly across the space at the required height, using a hand trowel or even a power trowel. Epoxy in ambient conditions can be ground the next day. The key thing to remember is that cement terrazzo typically takes 4 to 5 times longer to complete than epoxy terrazzo. Grinding for both cementitious and epoxy terrazzo relatively are the same procedure with exception for the initial rough grinding. Rough grinding for epoxy terrazzo is done dry with vacuum systems collecting the grinding dust. On the other hand, cement terrazzo is wet grounded so a slurry is created. Grinding concludes when the divider strips and aggregates are exposed onto the floor. After this stage, it is time for grouting. Installers will clean the floor with water and a scrubber and vacuum the floor completely dry. Grouting refers to covering any pinholes and voids left after the grinding process. Installers will apply a small amount of epoxy matching the floor color, covering up these pinholes. The procedures for polishing is performed similar to the grinding stages, however polishing is done wet for both systems. Once completed, the terrazzo floor is left to completely dry, which is then to be applied with a minimum of 2 coats of sealer. Sealers help protect the floor during the terrazzo's life cycle. Next, we are going to explore the different design and color options of terrazzo. When considering your flooring options, if design is a top priority, then epoxy terrazzo gives you the flexibility to create anything you like. This gives epoxy terrazzo an advantage over flooring types like carpet, vinyl, and hardwood floors. To recap, epoxy terrazzo can be tinted to any color, is similar to paint as any color can be reproduced. In addition to marble, aggregates like mother of pearl and glass gives epoxy terrazzo more design flexibility. You can combine a bunch of different chips together in any color for a unique look. No terrazzo projects are the same. There's no limit to how many aggregates you can add to your design. Aggregates also vary in size. Standard chips, sizes 0, 1, and 2 are the most commonly used in the terrazzo industry, but you can also have larger chips as well, known as Venetian. These are graded at size number 3 through number 8. You can even have micro terrazzo chips, which are smaller than the size number 0. And you can also crush chips to give aggregates various shapes like round forms or elongated or jagged edges. Architects and designers can even add detailed logos or graphics to the job site. Divider strips can be maneuvered to create wayfinding designs or patterns. Today we've seen logos cut precisely using water jet technology. For large-scale projects, artists can be brought in to create a masterpiece onto the floor. Terrazzo fits right in with art in public places projects. Let's take a look at the recommended applications of terrazzo. Terrazzo is a versatile product and can extend beyond flooring. One option is terrazzo stairs. These can be custom made via precast form, including self-supporting treads, tread and riser combinations, and flat treads. Stair treads vary in lengths and thicknesses and can fit right into any stair design, including straight stairs, half or quarter stairs with stair landings, or even curved stairs. These treads are a safe application for any project as they have an anti-slip finish. Normally you can find these terrazzo stairs in universities, corporate headquarters, convention centers, and other locations with multiple stories. Terrazzo can be structurally supported vertically in the form of walls. This is widely seen today in bathrooms, shower rooms, or used as a kitchen backsplash. These are used in kitchens and bathrooms as terrazzo has a high resistance to water damages. Another option is tabletops and countertops, as they are becoming a popular commodity today. They are commonly seen not only for kitchens and bathroom sinks, but can be used commercially for bar tops in hospitality settings or receptionist desks in company lobbies. These are great for areas that require high standards of sanitation. For terrazzo countertops, glass chips are a favorite among designers. Although epoxy terrazzo is seamless in appearance, architects and designers have the option of installing terrazzo tiles as well. This is recommended for those who love the look of tile or seeking a beautiful yet economical flooring alternative to epoxy terrazzo. Other applications include furniture, lighting, and other decor. Some designers have even developed their own creations. We'll now look at some common locations where you can find terrazzo today. We'll first start with schools. When schools install a logo or design, they can help students identify with their schools and help raise school spirits. Vibrant colors can be great for expanding the cognitive skills and imagination of young students in elementary schools. Terrazzo is especially beneficial in cafeterias, hallways, and lobbies due to it being easy to maintain and clean. Having low VOCs, epoxy terrazzo promotes better indoor air quality, thus playing a factor in student health as they journey through each grade level. Through design, terrazzo can leave behind a lasting impression of a school once a student graduates. You may have also noticed terrazzo in hospitals. One benefit of terrazzo in hospitals is the prevention of germs. Because terrazzo is seamless, there are no joints in which bacteria can grow. This also helps patients with either crutches or wheelchairs move along the floor more smoothly. In addition to terrazzo being seamless, wayfinding designs can navigate visitors to different parts of the building. Design also plays a factor in making patients feel more relaxed during their stay. Terrazzo can speed up the healing process as colors can elicit moods that quicken the healing process. Another location where you can find terrazzo is airports. With millions of travelers passing through airports each year, terrazzo is ideal as its durability is a great fit for areas with constant flow of traffic. Being a seamless floor, travelers can also find it easier to stroll along luggage as well. Many airports today are even including graphics and logos in their floor. These works of art can tell a story about a city's history and culture. Well, that wraps up today's webinar on a general overview of terrazzo. I hope you enjoyed the presentation and now have a better idea of what terrazzo is and how you can potentially use it in the future. As mentioned before, our team of experts are willing to answer any questions you may have on terrazzo. If you do have a question, please either call us or write to us at info@terrazzco.com. If Terrazzco piques your interest, we encourage you to check back regularly on terrazzco.com for more informative content. Also take time to review our Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn profiles as we showcase the making of terrazzo, new innovative products, and finished photos from projects utilizing TERRAZZCO Brand Products. From everyone here at Concord Terrazzo Company, thanks for watching. Hope to hear from you soon.